the 2018 Western Conference Finals will haunt me forever.
You feel better?
No.
Well, hello, my friends. This is Athletically Declined Sports Show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. It's video. It's video.
It's
so I
an
think
idea.
It's a show.
It's a project, as Chaperone says.
Yes. And I'm here with my partner in crime, as always, Mr. Spencer Roland Nolan.
What's up, y'all?
Then, hello, Houston.
H-Town.
We are your Rock the Mic winners for 2024. And we are so excited to be here and talk ball with you boys and ladies.
Especially, with us being Houston fans, we've experienced a lot of highs, especially recently with the continued success of the Astros, Texans making good moves, Rockets making good moves. But as many highs as we've experienced as Houston fans, it's almost like every single mountain has an equally low valley.
Yes, it does. As a Jets fan, I know that all too well.
All right.
The valleys can be very, very steep. And sorry, Spence, it's football season's rolling up here, and I can only go to the valley right now.
We'll talk about his Jets fandom another day.
Anyway, but before we get going, let's talk about a little housekeeping, because as you can see, this is not sold out. We are here at the Sanctuary here over in Fairmont. We are here at the Sanctuary over in Friendswood. And if you guys are not familiar with the location, you guys need to check it out at the Sanctuary Gym. Owner Jonathan is our guy hooking us up, letting us come over here and make this spot. This is going to be probably one of the few times you're going to see us here in the middle. We're going to be moving to a smaller studio here moving forward. But today we're going to be here on the AstroTurf.
Yep.
Only fitting. So shout out Sanctuary. You guys looking for a spot to get in shape, get fit. We will be here. You probably would see us at some point. And so, I appreciate them. And thanks for letting us come and take up some room here for a little bit. Also, too, want to give a shout out to Throde, who you guys can see I'm sporting right now. The bait and tackle, local Houston apparel, a proud sponsor, partner, however you want to call it, of Athletically Declined. You guys can go check that out at Throde with 2 W's, apparel.com. And also you can find the Throde merchandise on Sold Out. Our partners, Sold Out, Cleto and Brooklyn. Love those guys. You can check it out at Sold Out, SOLED, Sold Out, FTX.com. And you can also find Throde Apparel on there, as they are a retail supplier.
Bang, bang.
And as always, baseballism as well.
Yep.
Not wearing any baseballism today, but I was actually wearing it before we got here. Love my baseballism apparel. If they actually, you were talking about it last stream, they got polos now.
Yeah.
So you guys can
golf
rock
polos. If you like baseball and you like to golf, which a lot of our baseball players love to golf also, similar mechanics.
Hey,
right?
Exactly. Shout out
Get
Dowdy.
you a baseballism polo, man.
Yeah, Dowdy, all the pen pals actually, Dowdy, Clancy, and Trav. Going to be use code 8015, get you 15% off. So I think that's all of it. So you were talking, though, about the highs and lows of Houston sports.
Oh, yes, there's a lot of them.
And we're going to talk about some of those today. This will be the inaugural episode for ESPN Houston. Going to get to get familiar with the shortcomings. So you want to run us down how this is going to work?
Yeah, so we're going to go through our list of, at least within the last decade, all of the heartbreaking moments that we have endured together as Houston fans. Right? It's very easy for us to forget that. It was not that long ago where we were in the cellar in a lot of our spots. The Astros have been great recently. The Rockets are up and coming. The Texans have a lot of high expectations on their upcoming season. But it wasn't that long ago that all of these teams were breaking our hearts. So,
yes.
And we'll include a lot of them. We're going to touch on all 3 of the major teams. But the first one we're going to start with, to me, this is the top 4 most heartbreaking moments of the last decade in Houston sports.
AD edition.
Number 4 is one that just happened. Right, it happened back in March. Our University of Houston Cougars fell in the Sweet 16 to Duke. Of all the teams, losing to Duke never feels right. But what really hurt me for this one is my boy Jamal Shed. He deserved a better ending than going out because of an injury. He deserved a much, much better ending. who is one of the greatest U of H basketball players of all time. He's in that conversation with the Dream and Clyde. He really is, with how much he has meant to that school. For him to not even be able to finish the game, he was out in like the first 10 minutes of the first half.
Yep.
And there was a noticeable difference in the way they played defense, the way they made shots. Like when Shed was off the court, they had no semblance of an offense. Kyle Filipowski was sniping threes, and then Jared McCain was the guard for them. They are both now in the NBA. And, Kyle Filipowski, he's in the NBA, but did you hear about him?
No, tell me.
So he got in trouble. Well, not necessarily in trouble, but it came out during the draft process that he wasn't interviewing well. It's because he was groomed. He was groomed by a woman that was 8 years his elder, knew him when he was a minor, that he is now dating, and she has converted him to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so because of this, he was apparently very awkward throughout the interview process.
Interesting.
Yeah. All this to say is this is the guy that beat U of H. Imagine that is who you lose your career to, is the guy getting groomed for the Church of Latter-day Saints. It's insane. How could we let this happen?
Yeah, that definitely puts an interesting wrinkle in everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. That was one of those ones. It was one of those losses. I had so much hype, obviously. Go Cougs, baby. Diehard Coug. And it was one of those losses. I had all the expectations. I really thought that the Cougs had a chance to win it all. And I know UConn, back-to-back, they had a great team. Coach Dan Hurley, they very well might have beaten U of H, but there was no other team in the country that could defend like the Cougs. And I don't care what you say. If you put the number one defense in any game, I like their chances.
Yeah,
I like their chances.
Speaking of controversy, Dan Hurley would later find his own little bit of controversy after the season with his little Laker debacle.
Yeah, well, was that a debacle, or was he expertly getting negotiations down so that he could get paid?
Yeah, I think there's one thing you could say is Kelvin Sampson has been instrumental on reviving the aura around U of H basketball to Houston. And I think if you live in the city of Houston and follow sports to any degree, you don't want to see U of H win a title, or that's not on your bucket list for teams in Houston, then you're not you're not a Houston sports fan. You're just not.
Absolutely not.
And
some of us, I actually went to the school, but even the ones, like even my Aggie graduate dad loves to see the Cougs do well because they've got the H in front of them. And one last thing I'll say about this, other Cougars fans might have wanted us to put the Jordan Poole game winner in there. And while that one definitely was a devastating shot, I still can't believe that shot went in. It had no business going in. It was one of the ugliest shots I've ever seen. But that was the round of 32. And Michigan did go on to eventually, they lost in the championship that year.
Yeah.
But this U of H team this year, they had championship aspirations. They had a team good enough to win it all, and it just didn't happen for them only because of an injury.
Yeah.
That's what makes me sick to my stomach. I want a better ending for our boy Jamal Shed.
Yeah, and shout out our boy Joe Payne, one of our AD guys. He actually went to and drove to every one of the games that were here in Texas. I believe, was it 3 or was it 2?
Are you talking about in the tournament? There were 2.
Yes, there were 2. And I remember him being like, you know what? I'm going to go. Like on a whim. Drove, went and saw him. And then,
the A&M game was an all-timer.
Yeah.
That was a very fun game.
And man, again, he's also a U of H diehard. And for both of you, it's just different when you go to the school. Just like it's different. Like, I went to Liberty, obviously. So getting to see Liberty being a New Year's Six Bowl last year, that was really cool. But Houston being as close as they were, as a Houstonian, I obviously wanted to see that. But I know that it hits a little bit differently because you guys went to U of H.
Yeah.
Ugh,
definitely hurts. But
that hurts.
Not as hurtful as number 3 on our list.
Number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, the meltdown.
Versus the Texans, with the glimmer of hope that we thought was going to be us finally putting away the demons and being able to move past what looked to be the new evil empire that Keys passed down from the Tom Brady New England Patriots to Patrick Mahomes. What I will quote you as saying, as the best and worst quarters of Texans history.
Yes.
You want to elaborate on that?
In one game, in one playoff game at the beginning of 2020 in January, right? We experienced in the first quarter when we went up 24-0 on the Kansas City Chiefs, that was the peak of a Texans fan existence. We had never witnessed football as inspiring, as hopeful as that moment. The Titans had won their game the day before. I was thinking in my head after that first quarter, we're getting a home AFC championship game for the Texans. We are getting that. And then what proceeded to happen after that was, well, the Chiefs went on to outscore the Texans 51-7 after that, including the 24-0 lead that they got in one quarter. Yeah, it was gone at halftime. Gone at halftime. And I think if any Texans fan is being honest with themselves, I mean, because I know I had this feeling. Whenever they went up 28-24 on that final touchdown before the half ended, I knew we weren't winning. I knew it right then and there. I was like, there is no way. There is no way they were up 24-0 and squandered it away and that they'll come back and do it again. There was no way. That killed their will. And honestly, that was our last moment of DeAndre Hopkins in a Texans uniform. That was the last taste we got of DeAndre Hopkins in H-Town.
Do you believe that was, and again, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't think that I would have this thought. Was that the Patrick Mahomes showing everybody I'm here to stay game?
It's definitely one that I know a lot of Chiefs fans point to. It's one of those ones where it's like, don't count him out. He was down 24-0 after one quarter.
Because everyone has a game, right? Like if you're putting in the same category that Mahomes is being put in. But yeah, I mean, you look at that and you look at...
For me, I think the game for Mahomes, to me, is the one against the Bills, the double overtime. That's probably the craziest one, but I definitely think there's a lot of diehard Chiefs fans that would point to this game against the Texans as like, you cannot count this man out. He will kill your dreams. And
that was a good Texans team.
That was
a good team.
That was the year they traded for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills, and like that opening touchdown, Kenny Stills got wide open over the middle. I was like, Kenny Stills, build him a statue, man.
Dude, oh my gosh, Kenny Stills.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What a name. Just guys naming dudes.
Dudes naming guys.
Yep.
All right,
so
Spence,
the number 3, easy for me, the Texans. And I think for me, part of the reason why this was such a heartbreaking moment, especially the further time gets removed. Now, having CJ Stroud around helps it not be as painful anymore. But that was also the moment where if we could go back in time, we should have fired Bill O'Brien right then and there. He should have been fired. But instead, what happened? He didn't get fired.
He got promoted.
He got the GM title after that. And then shipped away DeAndre Hopkins in what was at the time, which is crazy to think about because there have been a lot of bad trades come out since then. But at the time, that was the worst trade I've ever seen in NFL history. Now, thank God that the Broncos ended up trading for Russell Wilson the next offseason to take some heat off the Texans in that regard. But David Johnson and a second-round pick for, at the time, a top 3 wide receiver.
Yeah.
Disgraceful return. Disgraceful return.
And still put up numbers with Kyler.
Yeah. But how different would that offseason have been had the Texans held on to the 24-0 lead? Where would we be right now? I want to explore that butterfly effect. I want to live in that reality where the Texans didn't blow the lead. They held on. Like, would we consider Pat Mahomes in the GOAT conversation right now? Would Deshaun Watson still be a Texan right now? There's a lot of things that because of that game, a lot of fallout happened from that. Things would be very different.
So now with number 2, this is where this is going to get fun because y'all are going to get thrust into what we like to think is pause. Oh, you like that? What we like to say is probably some of the most entertaining moments in AD is when me and Spencer have differing opinions because, as you will learn, we are both very passionate.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah,
I love the H, man. I die for the H.
Do you want to break it down?
Yeah, so when we were composing this list, we very quickly agreed 4, 3, we both agreed on those. But where we differ is that we disagree on what should be the biggest heartbreaking moment of the last decade for a Houston sports fan, okay? I believe it is the 2018 Western Conference Finals between the Rockets and the Warriors, in which the Rockets lost in Game 7 thanks to Chris Paul being out with his hamstring injury. Scott Foster rigging the game quite literally. And of course, who could forget 0 for 27 threes?
So give us the background and the detail. Let's go in deep real quick, Spence.
So,
and tell us why.
If you don't remember this Rockets team, oh man, let me take you back on a trip down memory lane to the 2018 Houston Rockets. Team won 60 plus games in a loaded Western Conference, in a Western Conference that many decided to just punt their chances to the moon because they saw Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green sitting there in Golden State thinking it is inevitable that they will represent the Western Conference no matter what. But one man, Daryl Morey, decided to challenge that. And he went out and got Chris Paul and paired him with James Harden. They brought back Trevor Ariza, PJ Tucker, Clint Capella. It was one of the best starting fives in the league at that time, if not the best, because what they would do is they switched everything. They switched everything, which is a defensive style that we see pretty much commonly played across the board in the NBA nowadays. The Rockets were really, really good at that. When you have PJ Tucker, who can defend 1 through 5, you got Clint Capella, who, while not the shiftiest, can hold his own okay out on the perimeter. That team had it all. And that team embarrassed the Warriors when they played in the regular season. Then they get to the Western Conference Finals. All right, both teams took care of business to get there. The Western Conference Finals. Meanwhile, in the East, you got LeBron James getting dunked on by Jason Tatum, and they're struggling to get out of a very weak Eastern Conference. And everyone knew that Cavaliers team was not going to do anything against the West. The Warriors had just the year before spanked them and ran them out the building. We knew what was going to happen, right? So you get to the Western Conference Finals. It is what is the two best teams in the league all year was the Rockets and the Warriors. And it was a dogfight. The first 4 games, it's 2-2. Then game 5, the Rockets win a thriller at home, but they lose Chris Paul to a hamstring injury in that game. Then they go to Golden State in a game that no one really gave them a chance, but they had a lead in and they choked it away. So now we enter game 7. Which to me, again, is the most heartbreaking game of the last decade, bar none, because this game, from the jump, was very clearly, in many eyes, many Houston fans' eyes, mine included, was rigged by Scott Foster. They had to get themselves another Stephen LeBron finals. Had to get it.
Let me ask you a question.
Had to get it.
Not to pull you off topic.
Sure.
But do you feel like, in your soul, that at some point in the distant future, we are going to get a Netflix documentary talking about Scott Foster's involvement in something? Because we've seen it already.
I think I could see some kind of documentary coming out in the next few years where they interview, we get him, we get Angel Hernandez, and then we get like, I don't know, who's a bad NFL ref? Like Jerome Boger? Or I can't think of any bad NFL refs. I always do say NFL refs are the best of any officials in any sport.
They go through a very rigorous process.
I think they're the best, and they're not that good. Let's be clear. No. I still hate them too, but they're the best compared to MLB, compared to NBA. Yeah, they have their moments. The Saints game, like you mentioned, it's a bad one for sure.
Bad one.
But anyways, regardless, Scott Foster blatantly allowing things to go for the Warriors, moving screens, hacking Harden on threes. And they literally, everyone always brings up 0 for 27. There is literally, if you go back and watch the game, at about the 0 for 11, 0 for 12 part, James Harden makes a three-pointer. He made a three-pointer and was fouled on it. And it went in, and it should have been a 4-point play opportunity. However, Scott Foster decided to call it a foul on the floor when he was in a very clear shooting motion. Something that, a lot of people would say, oh, well, he's just flopping. Well, he flopped all year to an MVP. It was something that the refs were aware that he does. It's a move that he baits defenders with. That is not an excuse you can use. Like at that point,
not in a Western Conference Finals game.
At that point, it's done. That's his game. And you can hate it, you can love it, whatever. That's his game. He got fouled. The bucket should count and won. And they wiped him off the floor. And there's YouTube videos full of compilations of Scott Foster's missed calls from that game. But for me, what is so heartbreaking about this is the fact that this was the opportunity for Chris Paul, for James Harden, and I'll even throw for Mike D'Antoni to rid themselves of the playoff demons. And damn it, they should have. They should have. That team was the best team in the NBA that year, bar none. They had the Warriors dead to rights. Then Chris Paul got hurt and Scott Foster rigged it. And here we are, crying about it still 6 years later. And damn it, my grandkids will hear me complain about this game. I will complain about it till the day I die, Tyler. The 2018 Western Conference Finals will haunt me forever.
You feel better?
No.
No, it doesn't.
Not even a little.
You know what's funny to me is since we've done AD, we've been doing this over a year and a half now. I cannot count on my hands how many times that I've heard this rant. And I'm very happy now that the right audience, specifically this Houston audience, gets to now.
They know. The real Rockets fans out there know. Okay.
Now, I'm going to give you what mine is. And mine is my Houston Astros 2019 World Series Game 7. Oh. I was fortunate enough to be at this game, so I will admit there is a little bit more that I hold on to because, as we all know, when we're at a game like this, it does hit a little bit harder.
You feel the vibes, you feel the atmosphere.
I will never forget I was working for a company that had season tickets, and I got invited to go, and I was like, "Oh, dude, this is it. This is it." Like I didn't get to go to 2005. Didn't get to go to a World Series game. 2017 didn't get to go to a World Series game. Went to a lot of ALCS games, but this is it. This is my World Series, and in my mind, I'm gonna go watch the Astros win Ring 2. Right? We're gonna, with everything going on with the Astros organization, you know, the little because that's when the whispers started coming out. Right? Nah, we're gonna show you. And I will never forget, Yuli hits that home run, and we're like, now we're in business. Greinke's dealing. And I'm like, this is it. We get the rally with the guys on base. I believe Springer knocked in, if I'm not mistaken, knocks in a run. No, it was Correa. Correa knocks in the run. We're 2-0. Then the 7th inning comes.
Oh, man.
Rendon, who has struck out multiple times in this game already,
but had killed us the entire series before
but we saw that he was human in this game already. Catches one and puts it over the Crawford boxes. And in my mind, surely in Game 7, Greinke, a Cy Young winner, they're not going to pull him. It's not going to happen. I will never forget whenever Hinch came out, we were all going, there's no way that you're about to pull this guy. The only run he has surrendered is this solo shot. How many times have we seen Verlander give up a solo shot in a game and he's fine?
Yeah.
And he pulls him for Will Harris.
Yeah, not for Garrett Cole. Who
we thought was going to be who was
warming up.
Who was warming up. You're the best pitcher in baseball. With the best, you could argue the best year of any pitcher all time. But hands down, no argument, the best 1-2 punch, him and Verlander all year. Best pitcher, 1-2 punch ever.
1-2 in Cy Young voting.
The only pitchers even close to him was Schilling and Johnson, who again, we're talking about Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson. Like, oh my gosh. And what does Will Harris do?
Yeah.
Howie Kendrick.
Yep.
Roper, man on base. And there's your 3-2 lead. And after that, it was over.
Yep.
When I described to you when people say, well, the air like was taken out of the building, I understood it to like a perfection at that point. Because when I tell you went silent, you could hear a pin drop. It was unbelievable. I will never forget. I left that game and I did not watch the Astros play the next year at a home game. I did not go to one game the next year.
Well, the next year was COVID.
Well, yes, I didn't watch an Astros. Let me take this back.
I didn't either, man.
Yeah, I was so heartbroken that I couldn't watch. I could not watch. I was that heartbroken.
Yeah,
it was
No, definitely. It definitely was heartbreaking. But then I just thought about how much fun I had 2 years prior with the Astros winning it all in 2017. And I was not as heartbroken as I had been just 1 year prior after the 2018 Western Conference Finals. Because the Rockets hadn't won anything since the 90s. And I have to sit here and watch James Harden and Chris Paul get drugged through the mud. Tell me, is anyone dragging Zach Greinke through the mud? Is anyone dragging Carlos Correa? Is anyone dragging Jose Altuve? Is anyone dragging these guys through the mud? No, because they're all still great, because they all still have won. They didn't have their only opportunity to win robbed for them. How can you say that is more heartbreaking whenever that game had no impact on the legacies of any of our guys? None, except for maybe Will Harris and AJ Hinch. That's
I will say that,
but I'm not heartbroken over their legacies getting ruined. James Harden's legacy getting ruined kills me, because he is one of the greatest basketball players of all time, and he does not have the rings to show it.
But again, like, I look at it as this way. Yes, we can sit here and we can say if they win that game, they go on to win. But they still had to play a series.
But anyone that watched basketball that year knew they had no chance. Cleveland had no chance against the Rockets or the Warriors. And it turned out they got swept in 4 uncompetitive games.
Sure.
Well, I'm sorry, 3 uncompetitive games. We can't forget the J.R. Smith game. That was game 1. But after that, it was a wrap. Not even close. And that was the championship.
I understand that. And I understand. But again, you cannot go back and look at whether we want to say that at that point in that universe that we lived in there.
Sure.
Yes, that happened. But in the parallel universe, the Rockets still have to go play 4 games at least.
Those would be 4 very fun games to watch us blow out LeBron.
And maybe that happens, but we know that if they win that game, we get another ring.
Another ring. We had just got one 2 years prior. How can you be that heartbroken when we haven't seen a Rockets championship in our lifetime?
History was made. We had the greatest 1-2, but and also 2. Let me ask you this: do you think that if we win that game, that Garrett Cole leaves?
Yes. We did not have the mountain of money that the Yankees threw at him.
But
not
you
even
yourself
close.
Say winning fixes a lot of things.
Sure does. But he would not have stayed. Man. I promise you. He would have gotten his ring and walked out of town either way.
That I 100% think he would stay. But man, I think that the likelihood...
It was 0. It was always 0.
I don't know.
No chance Garrett Cole came back.
Again, I just feel like, to me, like if we're looking at... It was right there. Like, I just look at the fact that the Rockets still had to play more games to be able to have again... They had to win that game to have a chance to win a championship. And again, I will lean with you on saying, yes, the championship with the Rockets would have meant more because we hadn't had one in a while. But the fact that the Astros went to Game 7 against a team that they should have beat. I mean, again, if you go back and look at it, that game, the pitching staff, like how good we were hitting.
I get it. I think about that 2019 Astros lineup.
It's the greatest Astros team we have ever seen.
I say all the time that 2019 Astros is a better team, top to bottom, than the 2022 team that won the World Series. I believe that.
It's a better team than 2017.
Easily better. 2017, honestly, had no business winning the championship, if we're being honest.
Yes.
But again, I'll say that even more so plays to how little heartbreak I felt, because when we were like the underdog and we won it all, that feeling trumped everything.
But here's the thing, though. This is the beauty, Spence. We can sit here and we can go argue back and forth. But you, Houston, can decide. Who's right? Do you agree that 2019 Astros World Series Game 7 loss is more heartbreaking, or do you side with Spence? Do you think that the Western Conference Finals 2018,
the real ones know?
You guys can vote below, and we want to see. And we will put out the official list, but we're going to give you guys till next show. We hope that you guys enjoy what we are bringing to the table for you. And if you don't like it, let us know. If you do like it, let us know. If you have ideas, let us know.
One thing I want y'all also, let us know what heartbreaking moments of the last decade we missed, because there's a lot of them that we could have mentioned.
Well, guys, I'm Tyler, Jeb Boyer.
Yeah, Spencer Maester Fantasy. We'll see you on next week's episode of Athletically Declined. Until then, y'all take it easy.
Here on ESPN Houston Sports 97.5. You like that?